Welcome to my channel. I am an active duty wildlife biologist. I typically post wildlife videos. A couple weeks ago I posted a experience for my time in officer training school, and I was tagged twice to post a video on how to get accepted to officer training school. And honestly, if this video helps you, please consider subscribing. It's going to be broken into 13 parts. And everything from when you first go to contact your recruiter to once you go through the board and go through OTS. Up first, before you apply. Now, before you apply to officer training school, prospective candidates should focus on academic excellence, leadership qualities, building that strong package to prepare yourself for the challenges ahead. Typically, you want to think of like a high GPA, and we'll talk about that more later on. Your leadership roles are very critical that you've done in the past, and we'll talk about that also. So, completing your bachelor's degree. You have to have one, 2.5 minimum, but higher is better. 3.5 was the average acceptance rate, for example, for ROTC. Preparing for the AFOQT, the Air Force Officer Qualifying Test. I'll talk about that more later on. Think about it for the test. Look at what the components are, and we'll talk about how it's similar to like the SATs later. Leadership, excellence. Think of things you've done, everything from extracurricular activities to community involvement, and start jotting that stuff down. Seek out leadership roles if you have that opportunity. It could be from organizing community events to picnics, things that you've done, community programs, reaching out, volunteering. Have that stuff lined up and ready to go so you know what you've done. All right, number 2, OTS versus ROTC versus AFA commitment. Typically 4-year commitment for ROTC, OTS. However, for the Air Force Academy, there's a 5-year commitment. I will caveat that if you are a pilot, there's going to be a 10-year commitment after you go through pilot training. So typically you're looking at about 12 years after that. So if you want to be a pilot, we'll talk about that more later on. Recruiters and you, when you're seeking out your commission, of course, you're going to work closely with an Air Force officer recruiter. Physical requirements, they'll ask you for a bunch of documents for like your birth certificates. When you go into your initial contact, either through a website or in person, your recruiter is going to assess your eligibility based on age, citizenship, education. They're going to ask you for documents. Please be responsive to them. If the recruiter asks, just be prompt. Key things to remember, just be persistent, be honest, do not lie, be prepared. Network, seek advice from others. They may have others that are going through the same process. Some of those just completed. Maybe you can talk to them. I'm happy to talk to anyone. I've helped several people go through this process already. Research different Air Force career fields. Like I said in that previous video, over 100 different AFSCs of our officers, and way more than 120 something for enlisted as well. So what do you want to do? All right, number 4, advice. This is just for your rated applicants. So pilot, combat systems officer, your RPA pilots, and navigators. So they, not just the AFOQT, GPA, they can consider doing the rated preparatory program to gain aviation experience. They'll have to do the pilot candidate selection method score, your PCSM score. So for some rated positions, that's it's used to assess flying aptitude. Civilian flight time, you should think about trying to get in some flight hours if you can. Definitely helpful to increase your score. I'll talk about more of that later on. Number 5, the application timeline. Averages between 12 and 18 months. So I have to have my application in September, and I found out in December. That's pretty quick. But I was preparing those documents for months and months ahead of time while I was enlisted. So it wasn't just a quick few months. So during that time, you're taking the AFOQT, you're putting your application, you're submitting, you're reviewing, passing your medical examination. Then there's the selection board, and then you wait. And then you wait for the results. And then there can be a significant period from that board of a delay. And sometimes boards get delayed. I think 4 to 10 months between board dates and then OTS is probably pretty average too. Just because I was selected, I didn't actually go selected in December. I didn't actually go until the following April. So I don't know, that's many months after that. OTS then, currently an 8-week program. In the past, it was 16 weeks as an example. After graduation, you'll begin your service commitment. Factors that affect your timelines. If your AFOQT scores aren't very high, you should retake. and maybe they can give you a third option if you still don't do well. Post-selection timing requirements, medical clearance, background checks can take a while. Board timing can also affect your wait time. Number 6, your AF or officer qualifying test. Multiple choice, time standardized test. Similar to the ACTs or SATs with like a pilot flair on there is kind of how I'd like to describe it. 4-hour, 47-minute test, 550 multiple exam questions. I took it, it was on paper. They now have digital version. Math, verbal, spatial awareness, like block counting, and then aviation knowledge. That aviation knowledge is very helpful for pilot combat systems officers. All right, PCSM, TBAS. Pay attention for your rated candidates. All right, so the pilot candidate selection method I mentioned earlier, score calculated to predict a candidate's aptitude to succeed in undergraduate pilot training, or UPT. The PCSM score is derived from the AFOQT pilot composite score, the TBAS, the test of basic aviation skills, and previous flight hours. So put those all together. The PCSM purpose is to provide that score on the likelihood you're going to succeed through UPT. Components, we already talked about. The scale, 1 to 99. 99 is the best. Other things like GPA and fitness are important, and if you're like ROTC, your commander's ranking, those flight hours, especially in the PCSM 2.0, are very, very important. TBAS. Now the TBAS is computer-based test with a joystick. I've tested people out on this: rudder, pedals, headphones, psychometer, spatial ability, multitasking for potential pilot candidates. The importance contributes to the PCSM is a crucial part of the pilot selection process. It takes about an hour and a half to complete the PCSM, for the TBAS. In essence, the PCSM score provides a quantitative measure of a pilot candidate's aptitude, and then the TBAS, the component, the PCSMs that evaluates a candidate's aptitude for pilot training. All right, letters of recommendation. Very impactful letters of recommendation, LORs, should focus on personal knowledge. So don't pick someone that doesn't know you. Supervisors, coaches, professors, mentors that you've had at jobs. Showcase your leader, character, and how your ability to lead and motivate and maturity. Provide very specific examples. Don't use those ChatGPT letters. I've seen them. They look like trash. Whole person concept, everything you've done in that time, in that organization. When you ask those supervisors, professors, coaches, something that can speak on your growth and things that you've done in leadership. Just because you weren't the captain of the lacrosse team doesn't mean you're not going to accept. There's lots of great leadership things out there. Avoid empty platitudes like generic statements with focusing instead on specific examples of strength. A letter from someone who doesn't know you doesn't seem very impactful. If you have too many letters, you just throw in tons of letters on the civilian side, it doesn't help. You want those 1 or 2 super strong letters. On the active duty side, they used to limit it to 1. I guess now they're having 2 on there. Number 9, resume and personal letter. Highlight your relevant experiences. I had emphasizing my best qualities for what I was doing in leadership on the enlisted side. I mentioned just a few books that I had read on leadership that I chose to look at. Consider a sidebar of these are all the things that I hold, but these are the things that I want to achieve and help out the Air Force, what I'm bringing to the table. Tailor your resume so you're highlighting your skills and experience that you have. Put down what motivates you. Say this is your story. My grandfather was in it. He did this, and I want to serve my country. What are you doing? Proofread these things carefully. Great letter can be trash if you have a whole lot of grammatical mistakes. All right. Interview typically involves a combination of behavioral, situational, and technical questions assigned to you. Assess your ability for leadership qualities and how you handle different challenging situations that could come up. You're going to have behavioral questions maybe here, tell me how you dealt with a difficult situation. Situational questions like, how would you handle team conflict if you have? What do you do if you had to make a difficult decision with a friend of yours? Technical questions, you're not expected to be an expert on Air Force things, but why are you interested in the Air Force or the Space Force? Questions about you, your weaknesses, goals. Make sure you know those things and be prepared when you go in. Questions about the Air Force, be prepared to know leadership, the mission of the Air Force, the values, core values, leadership structure. Questions about suitability. You might have like how well you fit in. You want to make sure that you're coming in there thinking of it as like a team player. Showcase your passion for the Air Force. Reflect on your strengths and weaknesses. For the interview, make sure you arrive on time, speak clearly, be professional, dress appropriately. I've had someone come in flip-flops and shorts. Don't be that guy. Also, don't be the person that's argumentative. I had someone in an interview that was so combative and argumentative about things that they had on their resume, and they said that was a mistake. Just don't do that. All right, number 11, the paperwork. On the active duty side, you have the Form 56. It's to document performance of in training. You'll have to have that if you're prior service. Relevance, it's good knowing. Obviously, you're going to have to do your transcripts, official transcripts, medical clearance, letters of recommendation, personal statement, the Air Force ROTC application checklist if you're going that route. Additional notes, if you're enlisted, you'll have to have endorsement from your unit commander. If you're doing the senior leadership enlisted commissioning route, I have had people apply to this that weren't even accepted to the college. You're just throwing it away. You're wasting your time. Make sure you're accepted into the college when you're doing that. You have to have that. It's part of the package. Number 12, Air Force PFA, run push-ups, sit-ups. Minute for the push-ups, minute for the sit-ups, mile and a half run. Aim for the maximums. Don't aim for the minimums. And I've had people say, "Oh, well, I thought the minimum was this," and then they just gave up. Don't do that. Aim for the most you can do. You don't have to get 100, but aim to do as high as you can. Highly sought after degrees. I'll have a link for this below on the degrees that are highly sought after, but of course things like aerospace engineering, chemistry, some of the languages like Arabic are very sought after degrees. Computer science, cyber ops, those are really sought after degrees. Not to say that you can't get accepted with a English degree, but those STEM degrees are very sought after. Again, congratulations on starting your journey for officer training school. It seems like a lot. I will say I would not have changed it for anything in the world. I'm glad that I had someone that recommended I apply when I was thinking about just getting out. I have got a whole bunch of sources down there, and thank you all for watching.